President Cyril Ramaphosa is hosting the President of Austria, Alexander van der Bellen, to deepen economic and trade relations between the two parties. Well, we now have John Steenhuisen, Agriculture Minister, addressing the media on the sidelines of that talk. We cross to that now.
Omission and commission have harmed the reputation of the government of national unity. So there does need to be that fairness and equity in it. And I don't think that intemperate attacks on a public platform when you have a visiting head of state next to you is the appropriate forum to do that. And I had no intention today of giving media interviews, but given that, I felt it was important to clarify.
John, sorry, Amanda Koza from News 24. Please can you clarify, do you not feel conflicted because the President appointed you to sit on the IMC that's responsible for organizing the national dialogue, and yet as in your capacity as the DA, you've withdrawn from the dialogue?
Well, I never asked to be on the IMC, and the first time I heard I was on the IMC was when I got notice to attend a meeting on the day of the very meeting, despite the fact that there have been a number of engagements between the Secretary General of the ANC and Mrs. Helen Zille, dating back now 8 months, where we've requested information on the budget, the modality, how is this going to work, and we have just simply been locked out of any of the organisation. And it astounds me now, when I read Mr. Mbeki's letter to me, that I understand now why the DA has been locked out of these negotiations and preparations. It's because this has been an inside closed shop deal with the ANC and with no other party in the government of national unity. We have not had the courtesy even of a letter from the Mbeki Foundation until the one I got yesterday. But clearly there's been a free flow of information, meetings, discussions around budgets, etc., that have not even taken place with members of the government of national unity. The first I found out that there was a 700 million rand price tag on this thing was when I read it in the media. And yet budgets appear to have been discussed in an NEC setting. And I don't think if you're wanting an inclusive dialogue that genuinely takes into account the people of South Africa's views and opinions and is not hijacked as an electoral face-saving mechanism or an attempt to make sure that you are able to recover some support ahead of the local government elections. If you don't want it to be seen with the cynicism that it's met, I think there needs to have been far greater transparency and accountability, and it's something that we've been requesting for time. So I will engage with the President on the IMC matter, but I never asked to be on it, and I only found out I was on it when I was sent the notice for the meeting on the day.
John, since your announcement that you are not going to be participating in the national dialogue, have you had the opportunity to engage with the President? And secondly, have you had the opportunity to respond to that scathing letter by the former President, Thabo Mbeki?
Well, I think the scathingness of the letter is the fact that he has revealed the ANC's hand in this letter. That's the scathing part about it, and that, frankly, should set the alarm bells off for any other civil society organisation that is entering this thing into good faith. I would encourage him to read that letter so that you can see the active collusion that has taken place around the so-called national dialogue with a single political party in the country. As I said, I have not had the opportunity to discuss the President. First I've heard his views as what he's expressed here today, and obviously we will react and we will obviously intervene, but we will also be providing Mr. Mbeki with a full response, clarifying why we said we would not participate until such time as action is taken against the corrupt. Because let me tell you, you can sit at that dialogue and you can come up with the best laid plans, you can come up with the most fantastical resolutions, you can come up with the most far-reaching and profound decisions. If those things are to be implemented by the very people who are involved in state capture and corruption and maladministration, and who've shown the middle finger to Parliament and the general public through a farcical process of appointments, well, if you're going to rely on those people to be the ones implementing your plans and your decisions, well, it's going to end up just like every other plan, every other issue, every other talk shop that's happened for the last 20 years. People will still be living in abject poverty. Our unemployment will still be sitting as unacceptably high. Our young people and young graduates will still be sitting without opportunities, because what people need now is action. They've had 30 years of talking. We now have a medium-term development plan. For goodness sake, let's go out there and spend our executive energy and burn up the oxygen on implementing that plan so that we can start to see tangible benefits for the people of South Africa. A dialogue isn't going to feed anybody. It's not going to build a single house. It's not going to create a single other job. And nothing we do or say is going to do that unless we get out there and vigorously implement the medium-term development plan, which is the adopted program of government. Now, Mr. Mbeki himself, you may recall, when he announced GEAR, and he was met with a huge barrage of criticism from the civil society organizations, the SACP, COSATU, and others in his own tripartite alliance. His response at that time was very telling. He said the government has a mandate, the government must go and deliver, and it is up to the government to run those programs and to determine the way forward, not for NGOs and interest lobbies to go out and do that. How is that different from the situation we face now? We have a medium-term development plan. It has been adopted. The President has said this is the pathway to getting 3% growth in South Africa. He's tasked ministers to go out and internalize the medium-term development plan into all of our departments, and we are busy doing that. And it is through the vigorous implementation and holding ministers accountable to the delivery on that medium-term development plan that is going to actually create jobs, that's going to drive the reform agenda that South Africa needs and move us past dialogue and towards delivery and action.
John, so Raymond from Medical Freedom, I just want to know what needs to happen for the DA to participate in the national dialogue, and lastly, did the DA put forward a name to replace Andrew Whitfield?
We haven't put a name forward yet. We have our own processes through the federal executive that do executive appointments, and that process will be concluded.
As you can see there, that is Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen, and also the leader of the Democratic Alliance, speaking to the media at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. That's on the sidelines of the visit of Austrian President Alexander van der Bellen's state visit to South Africa. And he has been having conversations and meetings with President Cyril Ramaphosa. And Steenhuisen commenting there on the letter, the open letter he received from former President Thabo Mbeki, responding to the Democratic Alliance's withdrawal from the national dialogue.